Okay, hello viewers. Welcome to the Nana Yaya Show. I have with me a very handsome young gentleman. I meet Kayode Alabi. Welcome to the Nana Yaya Show.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, thank you for connecting. Thank you for saying yes, and thank you for being here. I was reading through your bio, and I said, "Wow." So Kayode is an award-winning social impact leader, author, poet, and social entrepreneur and educator for only one person. For only one person. This is so wonderful. So as people know, this is the gist of who you are. Kayode, you tell us who you are.
Yeah, thank you. I think every time I get an interview like this, or I'm having, a conversation.
Sorry about that. It was supposed to play early. I didn't.
Yeah. Anytime people kind of like ask me, in interviews or in shows or podcasts, like who am I? I think the question is, I used to say I'm a product of grace and circumstance. And the reason why I say that is that circumstance led me to the work that I'm doing, and grace brought me to this particular point of my life. And
Mhm,
I mean, I've not still gotten to where I'm going to, but I think I'm on that journey.
mhm.
And the reason why I said circumstance is because I was born and raised in the slum of Makoko,
Yes.
in Nigeria. Lost my mom when I was 7, and my dad became unemployed at some point, and I dropped out of school for academic term, and my brother was also out of school for academic session.
Mhm.
And these were my circumstances actually growing up, even having to walk in the streets, in one of the slum that I lived in. And all of those moments actually brought me closer to the problem that I face and the problem that I was facing in my community. And
Mhm.
education offered me the lifeline, to change my own circumstances, to be able to access scholarships such as the Mastercard Foundation scholarship that I got to study African international development at the University of Edinburgh, and to study one of like the top, institution in the world.
Uh,
Uh,
okay, I am going to pull you back a little bit because it's like you've taken us so far. You've taken
yeah,
us far ahead. I, I really am interested in how you grew up in Makoko. Like, so
yeah.
Makoko, when you say Makoko-Nigeria, describe the place to people and how growing up in
Hmm.
that environment is like.
Again, yeah, I mean, I wrote this in my first book, and I'm like, sometimes the best places are in the slum.
Mhm.
I loved all my childhood experiences in Makoko. Um, I could recall then when I was growing up in Makoko, my dad actually sent me to like a Montessori school, and the
Mhm.
Montessori school was outside Makoko. So it was like, it was like a private school, and I had access to like the best facilities within the school system. But I'm always coming back home. I'll come back home and go to the back. There's a dump site at the back of our house, and with my friends, we wear like pants, and then we'll be picking like different dirts, like trying to make things with all of those dirts and all of those trashes that people are throwing away,
Mhm.
and then we'll pick them and then want to create something, want to make things happen, want to make cars, want to build cars.
Mhm.
Even my friends that were going to like public schools, or the ones that weren't in school at all,
Yeah.
would all play together, would I'll play street football,
Mhm.
and those things were things that that we share together. There
Mhm.
were things that every child, no matter where they are raised, they are creative. They
Mhm.
want to do things, they want to make things happen, and that's it for me. It was those experiences that I had within that community, and the fact that there are actually so many people within the community. You see your brothers as well.
Yes.
Everybody's like playing, like outside. We're all outside playing and doing things together. Like
But
it seems,
if it's a floating slum,
yeah.
where do you
Like
go on land to
so
play
so
or
for me, I didn't live in the floating slum.
Okay.
So I lived in the dry side. So
Okay.
yeah, but
Okay.
I used to go to the floating slum area to buy like fish or some other things. Like,
Yes.
you would, it's like like as I'm talking now, I could vividly like reconnect those
Yes.
experiences. Again, it was again I would say like it was a good experience, but it was also like mixed feeling. As I continue to grow up and continue to see like being in an environment where there are resources, I'm like, there was so many things I was deprived of. There are so
Yes.
many things that I didn't, have access to. But I'm really grateful to like my dad saying that, oh, I want to do so, like I want to support you. I want to like help you grow and have a good life. And it was my dad that allowed me to have access to that, kind of
Yes.
education. But again, I'm always back street football. There was a time I wanted to even become a footballer. I joined a football club within the local community.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed all of those things that the community afford me. I think one of the things people used to think about is when they think about the slum, they used to think about suffering and everybody suffering. Is I understand that we sometimes might struggle to eat or have access to food and all of those things, but again, there are some life that we enjoy together. The joy
Yes.
of community, the joy of friendship, the joy
Mm-hmm.
of family correcting you. Bro, there are some brothers that once I'm walking on the street, so Ahmed, take this, take
Not
this biscuits,
just
take this sweet,
blood, just brothers by community.
by community, and this thing happens in the slum. So most of when people go to the slum and trying to like go there with a mentality that want to like change the slum. But the
Mm-hmm.
truth is that it's not about changing the slum, it's about making the place livable for the people, while also recognizing the strength that the
Mm-hmm.
people who live in that community brings to the table.
So
And
you mentioned strength. Before you jump, I want to jump on the strength.
yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
What are some of the strengths that you find that community um,
S-
afforded
So
you?
yeah, so one was to I think sometimes when we live in such community, we're able to see what I don't want to be or what I don't want to become. I think that was one thing that it afforded me.
Mm-hmm.
I saw people, when I was growing up, because I moved from one slum to another one. I was
Mm-hmm.
living in Makoko, we moved to Bariga. It was another slum
Okay.
as well. So, and I think Bariga was more of like my teenage years, because we moved to
Mm-hmm.
Bariga when I was about 11 or 10. So it
Okay.
was more of like my early teenage years where I can form a bit of opinion
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
myself, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
could I could form things for myself. And I think during those moments I see people, I'm like, no, I don't want to become this person. No, I don't want to become this person. Or I don't want to end up this way. And they are like, drug dealers within your
Yes.
area. And sometimes they will even call you and send you to go get drug for them. And there's really nothing you can do, like you see within the community. So I'm always avoiding the areas I don't want to go to, the areas I don't want to be, at the time I don't want to be outside, time that I don't want to be outside. Like I
Yes.
started forming kind of like opinion. And I think that is grounded by the support I get from home.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that, I mean, it's not that we had everything. Like in Bariga, then I could recall that every afternoon it was a struggle to even have lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad would give me like 10 naira. I don't know what 10 naira is when I want to convert. Maybe it's not even up to like a pence or 2 pence, but
Mm-hmm.
it'd be like, oh, go get something like to eat. And um it was a struggle. Sometimes we'll have like these beans. I'll buy one small beans and then I would mix it with Gary. And when I mix it with Gary, and then I would drink Gary extra because I know that's not even enough. um you
Don't
know
worry, we've all done that.
yeah, just to like push it through.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I could also recall during those moments, because when I got into secondary school, my dad sent me to a boarding house.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like
But you
finding
guys
a
were still living in the slum.
yeah, but my dad sent me to a boarding house. So it was
Wow.
always finding a way to like get me into
So
education.
it was you, your junior brother, just the two of you.
It was, yeah, just the two of us at the time. So
Okay.
yeah, so my dad sent me to a boarding house. My brother didn't have that opportunity or luxury. I had the luxury. uh I think I got more support than him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got more support. So yeah, so we yeah, I was in the boarding house, and I could recall we came back home. And I needed to work. I needed to
Mm-hmm.
like sell, so I was hawking spaghetti and sweets, and moving around the slum, and I would put the sweets around because it was like all the small sweets, and I would have it around. I
Yes.
would put it around my neck, and then I have the tray on my head with the spaghetti in them. And
Mm-hmm.
what that taught me was that I was seeing problems that were close to me. I was seeing,
Mm.
even children whose condition were even worse than mine. I mean, I could hawk, I could do some certain things, but there were people who could even afford a lunch and who could even afford anything, or who could even go to school, but at least they could send me to school, right? I saw
Yes.
people wearing in school. So, it made me to like, okay, I think I started connecting the dots, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what I'm going to do. I didn't know what I'm going to do about it, but I had that experience, right? And there's something about lived experience, that lived experience actually, when you're looking for need to change something, a need to work in a particular sector,
Mm-hmm.
lived experience count a lot. And for me, was those experiences that I had, having to walk in the streets, being able to understand the problem better. As I try to sell, because then people will negotiate. Oh, they'll be like, oh, want to get this spaghetti for like 15 naira,
Mm-hmm.
for lesser the price. I'll be like, no, I can't sell for you lesser of the price. I
Yeah.
was learning negotiation, right? Sometimes we need to
Sales
see,
and marketing.
we
Plus,
need to see, yeah, we need
yeah.
to see the good. It seems like, oh, this boy is doing child labor kind of thing. I was 12 years old, he's
Mm-hmm.
involved in child labor and that kind of thing. But again, I understand, like, it's never our choice, right? And the truth is that I don't know where I saw this it's a one back article, that life starting point is a lottery,
Mm.
but the future shouldn't be left to chance, right? And
Yeah.
for me, that was a lottery. That was where I found myself in. I can as well learn, one or two things from that experience. So again, I learned negotiation. I could recall then I said, because as I was selling, I then started saving money for myself,
Oh
and I was
wow.
even buying more spaghetti to sell for myself as well. So if I sell the one for the home, then I need to take money back home. I'll sell for myself as well.
You know what? This is so, it's so brilliant. It's so uncanny to hear a young person from the continent. I can envision. I did not have your mindset
Mm,
when I was that young and we going through challenges. I did not have your mindset.
mm.
But listening to you right now, I really admire the kind of tenacity, the mindset that you had to overcome that, and even think about saving and you know and reinvesting the your money back into your business. So kudos to you. Very good job.
Yeah, again, and that's the idea. That's the idea I'm trying to build. That's the work I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. How do we, see good within the slum communities, within
Mm-hmm.
rural underserved communities, within IDPs? How can students start connecting the dot together?
Mm-hmm.
What if the schools within those area, what if that's what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where people can actually connect their experiences to like learn to connect the dots with the subjects, because it's not just about going to school to learn, it's about connecting the dot together. And that's the work my NGO does, right? It's like, a kind of alternative education where you kind of like
So
build this.
so give
Okay,
us the name of your NGO. What is that?
so it's named after me, but initially I don't want to do. But yeah, I mean that's what. Yeah, so it's Kayode Alabi Leadership and Career Initiative.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the short form is KLCI. So I might probably be referring to as KLCI. So in case you hear KLCI, that's the
And you
name. Because
started this at the age of
yeah, so I started this NGO when I was 23.
mm,
But before I turned 23, I've engaged in like several initiatives before
mm-hmm.
then. I didn't just start an NGO because so I when I was so yeah, there were many things happened as well. Like, it's a journey, like I'm telling you, like
Yes.
it's a journey. When I turned 13, my
Mm-hmm.
dad sent me to a computer school in the
Mm-hmm.
slum, and it was a computer school. It was within, so it was like within this. It was a bit out of the slum, but it was still within. So it was a
Yes.
computer school, and I was the youngest in that computer school. Like, everybody were older than me. They used to call me small in the computer school. That was my nickname. So I learned like of word processing. I learned graphic design. Then
Mm-hmm.
I used to use Corridor 9. I learned,
Mm-hmm.
all of those, how to design a card. I did all of those
Mm-hmm.
things. In fact, I learned I then did engineering. So I did software engineering. I was just 13 then. I did software engineering. I did computer architecture. I did how to like couple a computer system together. I did yeah, networking. Then before we start having Wi-Fi and all of these things, then there
Yes.
wasn't Wi-Fi. They use what we call hub, and you connect a wire, a cable. They call the cable RJ45 cable. I connect with the system together to ensure that a system can share. So once a system has an internet, you can share the resources together,
Yes.
and then the
Yes.
other system has an internet. So I learned all of
Yes.
those things, how to like do the networking, computer
Yes.
networking, how to connect each computers together. So I had all of those training, and and I could recall then that I'll go install softwares, in people's homes, and I'll be like, well, you don't need to give me money, just give me food. Like I just want to eat. So I had people who be like, I'll go install softwares on their computer, they will just give me food. Some people will just give me like some change, like I was just like, just give me the money. And it was incredible because they were like, this young guy, you're doing such an amazing stuff. I could recall then I even wrote a computer book that never
Oh.
got published. I didn't publish it. I wrote a computer book, I printed it out, I had my copy. I think my dad still kept it until today, because I would design logos. I
Yes.
was going to an Arabic school then, they didn't have a logo. I designed their logo. Yeah, sorry. I designed their logo, right? I was just doing those things, but those things were preparing me for the future that I didn't know
Yeah.
about.
Yes.
you know so I'm really grateful for my dad actually sending me to a computer school, because the fact that I could access the internet, I could access opportunities, I could easily browse things, like things that my age mates were struggling with. I knew them already, but I didn't have a PC.
Yeah.
We didn't have a computer in my house. So one of the things I gave a talk today, and one of the things I said is, you don't have to give a child a computer to let them learn. A PC in the hand of a child, like once they can learn through, like they have the idea already. It's there already. It's imprinted in their mind and in their brain already. And they can carry on that skills to apply to whatever they want to apply it to in the future.
Oh wow.
So yeah, when I turned 15, we moved from that slum to another rural community, because that would have been the first time that I would have been homeless, because we were like sent out from the place we were staying in Bariga, and they were
Yeah.
like, okay, guys, you need to leave. And and that also taught me something, because it taught me the power of relationship. We had nowhere to stay. It was one of our neighbors who said, hey, we have an uncompleted building somewhere in a rural community. It was like a kind of new site where people don't live in, filled
Yes.
with bushes. Was called rural in Lagos. Igbobo, it was Igbobo Ikorodu then. And they said, we have this uncompleted building, it's not perfect yet, but would you guys like to manage a room? So that was how we joined them. And then we went all
Wow.
together. And then we were managing a room, and we were living with their son. We're all living together.
Yes.
And then we'll cook together. We even used we created a kind of like we used clay to create a kind of like
A
cooking
cooking pot.
pot. And then I went to a
Or,
boarding
or
house.
the or the tripod one.
Yeah, exactly. And I went to a boarding house where I learned how to like clear bushes and all of those things. So
Yes.
I had a bit of skills around that. So we were like doing laborers. We would do laborers for like people who were like trying to build houses. We would do laborers, we get money, we use that money to eat lunch and
So
dinner.
from what you're telling me, it looks like everywhere, whether by chance or by choice, you found a way to create some form of basic
Mm.
income
Yeah,
from your circumstances. You did not
exactly.
let it hold you down, but you found a way to get some
Mhm.
skills and apply those skills
And and
to.
and I mean, I'm even getting to a point, because also during that time, I finished secondary school. I was just 15. I was 15
You
when I
finished
finished.
secondary school at 15,
Yeah,
junior secondary or senior
senior
secondary.
senior secondary school.
Why would you
Uh,
do that
yeah, I
to
mean, that
some of
was
us?
that was my circumstance. So I finished secondary school at 15, and I could recall then I was looking for a job. And that was the first time I wrote. So when I was doing my computer school, I wrote a CV at 13 when I was in the computer school. So I had my
Yes,
CV. So when I finished at 15, I wrote application letter, which is like what people call cover letter today.
yes.
And I had my CV with me that I designed in my computer school, updated it with my secondary school certification and everything. And I went to teach in a basic school, a basic education school within the community that we were
At
in.
15 years old.
Yes, I was teaching. I was teaching nursery one class. So I was in. So again, when you see my love, when you hear me talk about education, so it started from there. That was when
Mm-hmm.
my love for education sprouted, basically.
Mm.
So I then, I was teaching. They gave me nursery one because they were like, you're still young, take take this small class kind of thing. And honestly, I really enjoyed it because I would be the first person, the first teacher to get to the class, to the school.
Mm-hmm.
It was, there were kids that I was teaching
Mm-hmm.
that initially they couldn't read the letters, they couldn't read, they couldn't even spell properly, and they were improving significantly when I joined. And I
Mm-hmm.
could recall designing a playway method to teach them. So whenever I'm teaching them how to spell, if I'm teaching them how to spell a bag, I'll carry a bag and we'll be jumping together. So if I need to teach them how to spell a ball, I will have to find a ball and bring a ball to show them that this is a ball. Uh,
Okay.
so
So
I was using both play and,
mm-hmm.
I was connecting it to objects and everything.
Yes.
But except if there are objects that are very harmful, I'm like, no, we can't do this. I'm sorry,
Yes.
guys.
Yes. Yes.
So and then I haven't even studied education then. It was just me thinking and thinking and thinking about, like, how can
How
I,
best?
how can I help my students? And my students were improving significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I started organizing remedial classes that parents would also pay a token,
Mm-hmm.
for me to support their kids after school.
So you even
Um,
got a side hustle.
yeah. So I did, I did, I did,
Mm-hmm.
I did several remedial classes, and I could recall the day I quitted because my dad aunt was like, it was like she was like, this boy, you're going through a lot. Like at a young age, this is a lot for
Yeah.
you to be handling every single thing and laboring and all of those things together. Like, come stay with me. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to quit in the school, and I could recall my students were crying.
Yeah.
The parents were struggling. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna miss you."
Mm-hmm.
Like, my daughter doesn't say anything when they come back home, but now they are saying things, they are spelling things. Yeah,
Yes.
I was blown away by the comments that I got, and they were like, "When am I coming back? Am I ever going to come back?" It was quite emotional, leaving that, and that's where the change started from, right? That's where, like, I
Yeah.
knew that this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is how I'm supposed to do. So with the help of my dad, aunt, and her husband, I was able to get into university at 17. Even before I got into uni, I actually,
Okay. Pause on there. We'll come back to your university
yeah,
education and from Makoko to England, that experience. Now, guys, if you've just tuned in, you're watching the Nanaya Yebua show with our esteemed guest, Hamid Kayode Alabi. He is a young Nigerian gentleman living in the UK right now, but has made immeasurable strides within his community in Nigeria, and he's still doing that. So, if you joined us, thank you. There is about 90% of our viewers that haven't subscribed to the channel. So, if you haven't, please do so. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button so that anytime we come on, you can hear us and participate. Ahmed,
yes, I'm with you.
I called you Hamid, eh? Ahmed.
I mean, just let's just keep going. I'm in the flow right now.
Yes, please, flow on. Your story is amazing. Let's hear you. So from
Yes,
Makoko
yeah,
to university.
yeah. So again, before I was about to talk about getting before I go into university. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was, again, like I said, my life is a journey. It was a journey of circumstance and, again, grace as well. When I was 16, I could recall then I was working. When they started, there was what they call, when they started registering SIM card in Nigeria. I was
Mm-hmm.
one of the first people that registered people that was taking
Oh,
those data, and I was 16.
okay.
So my computer skills then came to play,
Yes.
because they needed people to, like, fill in data. Like, I was very quick at filling data, and I was very fast at, like, completing data, doing all of those things. I'm like, this is very small. I knew how to, like,
Yes.
quickly scroll to without even a mouse. I'll be like, tap
Mm-hmm.
tap, get. So I also worked with Airtel then as a KYC
Mm-hmm.
agent, and I was 16. And I think I captured about 6,000 data SIM cards. for
Okay.
people, and I was engaging people as they were coming, older people, like different kind
Yes.
of people. I was interacting with them, and I also did the same for the Nigerian Communication Commission as well. I also work with them because they needed to create a Nigerian database of SIM cards as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
also worked with them in between then. So before I got into university, so again, all of those experiences, contributed to, like, even how do you build human interaction skills? How do you even
Mm-hmm.
become emotionally intelligent? It was those
Mm-hmm.
key, experiences as well, because I don't see a reason why somebody will go through secondary school and they don't have the education to even succeed in the workforce. I think even after completing secondary school education, you're okay to, like, even compete with the workforce and be able to do some certain jobs. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not able to do some certain jobs after secondary school education, then there's a problem with the educational system. And for me, again, it was me connecting those thoughts together, connecting myself to, like, those
Mm-hmm.
stories. And when I got into university, I knew where I was coming from. I knew that this is my journey, this is my experiences. I wasn't the best student in my secondary school. I tried, but I wasn't the best person. I wasn't the best student in my primary school, even though I tried. I'm not, like, very highly, extremely, intelligent
Mm-hmm.
as of, like, the academics. But when I got into uni, I had a plan.
Okay.
I
I
had a
love
game
planning.
Yeah, I had a game plan. I knew that, hey, I'm here. I want to be the best. I want to, do something. So I was living I and my cousin were living together. So every midnight, 1 o'clock, I would wake up and then I would read. Whenever like every session we do, I make sure I read
Mm-hmm.
them every midnight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I don't have to spend an hour reading them, even though if it is for 30 minutes or one
Yes.
hour, I would do, and we'll take turns. Once I'm done, I'll wake my cousin because we have one lamp. I'll wake my cousin, he would take turns, and he would go ahead. And, and that really helped me with my studies as well in uni. And I could
Yes.
recall also in uni that I would do tutorials because I could understand things better. I would do
Mm-hmm.
tutorials as well. So I did tutorials for, like, my colleagues and everything. And one of the things I learned then is Martin Luther King used to say something. He used to say that to teach is to learn twice.
Yes.
So whenever I
Very
teach things,
true.
people were thinking that, oh, Ahmed is just teaching us, but I'm also revising.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm learning. So my exams comes really easy. I used to even set questions before exams. So I used to have my question. I would set my own question before the main exam questions. So
Mm-hmm.
when I set my question, do you know that sometimes I set my question and it's the same question that comes out? I'm like, bush, I'm done. This is done. Killed. So like because once I set my question and I'm answering my question, I'm already revising.
Yes.
I even set questions that are harder, so that I'm like, okay, if I struggle now, I won't struggle in
Mm-hmm.
the examination hall,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll have to figure out how can I solve this particular problem, and then so
Mm-hmm.
that when I get to the exam hall, I'm writing. So
Mm-hmm.
and I did, in fact, I did free tutorials from my first year in the uni to my fourth year in the uni.
Mm.
I was doing free tutorials. I joined the Nigerian Red Cross. I was volunteering with the Nigerian Red Cross. And when I was volunteering with the Nigerian Red Cross, I was even the deputy, like, commandant, like,
Mm-hmm.
coordinator at the Nigerian Red Cross. And we organized outreaches to juvenile homes.
Yeah.
We went to orphanages. I had that passion and all, with education combined with all of those experiences. So all of those volunteering really helps me. In fact,
Yeah.
by the time I completed by the time I was in my second year in uni, I already had my topic for my thesis for final year.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I was crazy. I don't know. Like, holidays, I don't travel. I don't go back home during most of my holidays. I stayed back. During my holidays, I would read
Mm-hmm.
for the next session already.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time people are resuming, I'm cruising.
Ah.
So I'm like, and that's why I'm able to do maybe volunteering.
Yeah.
I'm able to do other things that I can quickly do. And it seems that Ahmed has it figured out. So I graduated as the best student in my uni. I even got university scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
I was a two-time university scholar. I would, as a scholar, you've gotten privileges in the university. You would go to like they will do a procession for you
Yeah.
whenever they are doing inaugural lecture, and then you work as a scholar with your, like, I wear graduation gown even before graduation. So because you're a scholar kind of thing, I enjoy privileges
Yes.
and everything, that being a scholar comes with. And I became the best graduating student in my uni.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things actually contributed to, like, when I was about to get a scholarship, because um at the end of the day, all of those experiences, all of those, volunteering, so when people are in uni, what are you actually doing with your time? People were like, oh, this guy, you're just disturbing yourself.
Yeah.
You're just, playing around. And when I even graduated from uni, even graduating as the best student wasn't even enough. Like it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. My story wasn't even
Why?
enough.
Why not?
All of Thank you very much. Because there are also many brilliant people in the world. There are many best graduating students. Like there are many people with first class and
Mm-hmm.
second class upper. Like that's not enough. So for me, it was like, uh, I when I finished, I went to my NYC, and when I went to the National Youth Service, I was posted to another rural community for 1 year
Mm-hmm.
to teach. So I was put in this rural community to teach, far away from home. And I could recall during that moment, I did 6 projects, 6 community service projects. It was a personal project. I raised 250,000 naira worth of
Mm-hmm.
resources. I was like, in fact, I would attend, because in the village where I was
Mm-hmm.
serving, there were 7 quarters in the village. I became friends with the 7 chiefs.
Mm.
I would talk to them about my project. I would go to like the Youth Development Association meetings. I would go to like the Development Union meetings, even though I don't understand their language. I had to start learning the language. I even joined the local football club. I played their December football tournament. I didn't go home. People went home during the December
Yeah.
tournament. I played the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like a key villager that people say like, okay, it seems this one is part of us
Yes.
now. Because I want to like, if you want to create change, you have to integrate into a community
Yes.
as well. I started learning the language. I started speaking the language as well.
So
In
which
between as
area
well.
is this? Which area of Nigeria is this?
So it was in Edo State, South Nigeria.
What's the
Um,
name of this place?
Edo State,
No,
Edo State. It was South.
the
The
village.
village. It was Ekpon
Airport.
village, Ekpon community.
Ah.
Yeah, Ekpon community. So it was, and it was incredible. I like it when things are difficult. Like that's where I thrive. When things are hard, that's where I try, because I like to contend.
Mm-hmm.
I like when I'm like, I have to like, figure out how can I crack this community? How can
Do you,
I,
do you know why I
get,
was asking you which state? Because I grew up
yeah,
in
yeah.
Edo State. Yeah,
Oh,
so that's why I was asking. I was
ah,
thinking maybe it would have been my little countryside in Nigeria.
oh, wow,
See,
wow,
I
amazing.
got
I didn't
you.
see that. I didn't see that coming.
I know.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that
I
coming.
grew up in Ewu
Yeah.
and Ekpoma. Yeah.
Well, that's actually not that far from Ekpon Igweben community,
Ah.
because because the zonal office is in Epoma as
Oh,
well. So
okay. See,
yeah, my NYC zonal office is in Epoma. It's not that
you were
far.
around my
I mean
corner.
it's quite far as well, but it's
It's
not
not
that
that
far.
far.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it was an amazing
Hmm.
experience. I constructed a volleyball court within the
Oh,
community.
wow.
Uh, I actually, the sand
Hmm.
that I used in constructing the court, I packed it from the community. I packed 1.5 tipper of sand.
Wow.
Yes.
Was the
Uh,
community involved? Because that is one of
yeah.
the
So
challenges that sometimes
yeah. So
I
so in
find.
the beginning, they were like, what is this guy doing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were like, what is this guy doing? And I got some of my students who were supporting me. They were like, we'll push the wheelbarrow together. I was there pushing wheelbarrow. In fact, on my birthday, I was actually pushing wheelbarrow. I
Mm,
was pushing sands and pushing wheelbarrow. And there was a time one of my students said, Uncle, I'm tired. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like, I know you've supported me. Thank you. I'll keep going.
yes,
And they were like, who is this person?
yes.
And they had to join me up. They were like, no, like, we can't see you keep pushing. We will also join.
I think
So,
that's one of the key about leadership, especially within our continent,
mhm,
is that when you
mhm,
lead by example. Because when they see how you work and how you do it, then guilt
mm,
sets in that they are sitting and you are doing for them. So as the leader,
yeah.
they need to be part of this journey. That's a great
I,
thing. Yeah.
I mean, it was the same, with the kings as well, because there was a king in the community. I used to go to their meetings.
Mhm.
In fact, I knew the time they were meeting. Like after every 4 days before the markets
Yeah.
day, they will meet a day. I knew all those meetings. I knew the calendar. I
Yes.
knew when else they were meeting. I calculated. I used to go and, because I have like, you have to contribute to this project, and they gave money.
Mm-hmm.
They later donated to the projects because I could recall the last time I went, because I was going a lot. I'll tell them my plans. These are the things I want to do. I have a six community development agenda.
Mm-hmm.
These are the agenda. These are the things I want to do. I learned community mobilization. I learned pitching. I learned all of those things. I was pitching in different places, meeting, key stakeholders within the
Yeah.
community, people who live outside of the community who would visit. I would talk to them about my
Mm-hmm.
project, and those who can support would, those who can't wouldn't. So I remember one time the king wants to support for the last time, and it was like, if any of you chiefs
Mm-hmm.
wants to support this man, raise up your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they've seen me already pushing
Yeah.
wheelbarrows. They've seen me doing all of those things. And out of 14, I think 13 raised up their hand. Just one person. I'm like, wow, 13-1, I won. So and they removed money from their savings,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, this amount. They supported me with some amount of money, and the king specially also gave me some amount of money, like from the union. And there was a chief saying that, oh, I'm going to give you a bag of cement. I'm going to give you. I have gotten granite in my
Mm-hmm.
house. Use the granite I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten. Oh, I've gotten this
Yeah.
numbers of block. Come take them.
Yes. Yes.
So they were like, I didn't have all the money, but they were promising resources, right? And it was because of the engagement and what they've
Mm-hmm.
seen that this guy actually want to do this
Mm-hmm.
for us. And I could also recall then that I needed more cement. And when they paid me my best graduation students fee,
Mm-hmm.
I used the money to buy the
Oh
cement.
wow.
Like,
Every
no
cohort.
dime went, every single, yeah, the best graduation student fee that I got, my best graduation student price
Mm-hmm.
went to constructing that court.
Wow. Is it still
Yeah.
in existence, and how are they
Yeah,
taking care of it?
the last time I heard from my students, because they were like, I've not really gotten updates about the courts, to be honest. But with regard, because I did the courts, and I also did like I provided hand washers for
Mm-hmm.
schools. Because I noticed that when people play, and then the unhygienic
Mm-hmm.
environments, they don't get to wash their hands. So I work with a local plumber within the
Mm-hmm.
community, and a welder,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of the biggest public school within the community, we provided a stationary hand washer,
Mm-hmm.
that was constructed and all. And I also provided a mobile hand washer to like
Mm-hmm.
the other schools. And I in 2020, I got a feedback that because this was like 2015,
Yes.
2016. In 2020, I got a feedback from one of my students, and he's graduated, like he was also one of the people that were pushing wheelbarrow together. So he reached out and he was like, "Do you know that when COVID happened, your hand washers were what they were using,
Wow.
and your hand washers also form the basis for like the community to like develop more of that,
Whoa.
so that they can have a similar thing around." And I was like, I didn't know, to be honest. Like, I was just doing the project. I didn't know that those would be the ripple effects,
Yes.
or those would be that would be the impact. I didn't even know COVID is coming or COVID is existing.
It,
And I think, when we think about innovation, we used to think about really big things, but sometimes innovation
it's
are
a
really
small
smaller
thing.
things. And and in fact, during those moments as well, because I was a member of the Red Cross, I was trained in first aid. I'm an advanced first
Mm-hmm.
aid,
Provider.
older. I noticed that when students or children get injured, they don't know what to do.
Yes.
So I trained about 250 students on first aid and safety
Mm-hmm.
education. I didn't have a bandage.
Mm-hmm.
I used my bed sheet as a triangular bandage.
Mm-hmm.
I cut my own bed sheet that I was using to sleep. I used my bed sheet. I turned it to a triangular bandage. I went
Ahmed,
to
what kind of human being are you? I'm listening to your story. I can envision you doing all this, and I'm thinking you doing this within a community whereby we'll say a lot of people complain of poverty. My background is Ghana, so I could attest to,
hmm
the West African mindset that
hmm
poverty because of people be the poverty out around us, many people also have the poverty mindset, which has created a sense of selfishness. Me, me, me,
Mhm.
me, me, me,
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yours is, you don't really have it, but you keep giving, you keep giving,
Mhm.
and you keep giving. And it's like you give without end. Before I let you continue, you said something about the ripple effect, ripple, causing a ripple.
Yeah.
I actually have a quote by you. I took one of the right from your thing, and I have on top ripple effect. And I'm going to read you the quote that I wrote.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I may be able to inspire a million or not, but what I will
Mhm.
be proud of is that I have made one person smile.
Mhm.
And when
Mhm.
I saw
Mhm.
that, I just wrote ripple effect on top
Mhm.
of it.
Mhm.
And you'd mentioned it.
Mhm.
I thought I should share it with you.
Oh, I'm really, really humbled. Again, yeah. Now you're reminding me. My last talk, I wanted to talk about that, but I forgot. I don't know how. That I don't want to be everything. I don't want to own everything. I don't want to even have everything. Um, I don't want the world to fall at my feet. No. All I want to do is to ensure that I support one child. I help one person cross, by changing their circumstances. And if that means through education or through, a random act of kindness, most times we support people and we don't know what they will become.
Exactly.
But because one person, decided to raise up their hands to say that I want to be a piece in your puzzle. I don't know what your puzzle would be. I don't know if you will ever complete your puzzle. But I want to just be that smaller piece in your piece, in your piece that you're trying to complete. And by helping them complete their puzzle, we also complete our puzzle, but we don't know because it's remarkable when you give. There's something it brings about you. Like there was some energy I was getting from those, cutting my bed sheets and doing all of those. People were like, "Am I the president?" My fellow core members, we're serving together. They're like, "Are you the president? Why are you disturbing
Okay,
yourself?"
it's
But the
that
truth is that
mindset.
and the truth is, I didn't even know
Yes.
where I would, where this would lead me to,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't even know. I did a career guidance program for my students. My students, for the first time in the village, published a bulletin. It has never happened in the history of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And these were students that people think they can't create things, or they can't do things, or they can make things happen. On the day of the career guidance program, students were creating earrings with straws. They were creating cap from waste. I did the career guidance program. I asked them, what's the inspiration behind what you've created? Come and share. And then we offer this career guidance with them with
Mm-hmm.
some other core members as well who were within the community. I did an S risk assessment for 100
Mm-hmm.
villagers. I because I had this, I studied human kinetics education, so I had experience with like BMI, waste to
Yes.
heat ratio, being able to like assess some key S risk. And I did for 100 villagers. I was going to like different
Mm-hmm.
quarters, with my I bought a weighing machine. I used my tape rule as my measuring
Yes.
tape to measure heights. I was doing all of those things. And if I see that this person has gotten a high risk, I will advise them.
Yes.
And I also refer them to like the health center
Yes.
within the community. So I did all of these projects. And I could recall in 2017 when I was applying for a fellowship program. It's a program of the US Consulate in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
uh, what I was able to share in my
Mm-hmm.
application, it was even one out of that six projects.
Oh.
It was one
Mm-hmm.
out of that six project that I shared the impact.
Mm-hmm.
And when I shared that and I got into the interview, right? In fact, the NYC project I did, I wrote a
Yes.
proposal. That was the first time I wrote a proposal. I wrote a proposal, I developed a budget, and it was approved by NYC. And that experience I had writing that proposal
Mm-hmm.
was what I connected when I was applying to that US consulate program.
Mm-hmm.
Because they asked us to propose a project,
Yes.
come up with a budget,
You
come up with
you've
everything
done
like
one
that.
before.
So I've done one before, right? So I was able to connect the dots.
Yes.
So, and when I also got into the interview and they were asking me question and experience, like, when have you struggled as a leader before? And I talked about how, the community weren't planning to support me in the beginning,
Yes.
But when I led by example, they started supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the experiences that I share.
Yes,
Sometimes if you don't do something, then what story do you want to tell?
exactly.
So as people get into interviews and they are blank, it's because you've not gotten a story. So you don't have a story to tell. We are an embodiment of story over time. We constantly build our stories over time through what we do and through our experience with life. And for me, my story hasn't even ended. It's just
It's
beginning.
just
Like there's still even
beginning.
much more story to build.
Yes.
As I consider to, like, even here in the UK, right? People be like, "Oh, Ahmed, how did you get to the UK?" And all of a sudden you're getting into
So
spaces,
how
you're
did
getting
you
into
get
this
to the
place of,
UK? Because that was going to be my next question. You
okay,
asked me
okay,
all the
yeah, yeah.
questions,
I
so I
mean,
don't need to ask you. I just need to sit, relax, and enjoy this beautiful narrative on the Nana Yaya Boy
yeah, so
show. You are a natural storyteller who has lived this wonderful experience. I don't know how old you are, but you are a young man. And it's so wonderful to hear this,
mm,
these stories of impact. And I hope that
mm,
those who listen, either from Ghana, Nigeria, across the continent, or in the diaspora in UK, US, or Canada, have something, take something out of this, your story, and actually
mm,
also work on their, life stories as well. It's not
yeah.
all roses like how you when somebody hears you, it's like it was all roses. No, there were challenges.
I mean, I think it's when we take responsibility for ourselves and for other people that we find meaning.
Yes.
Because it's that's when you learn. That's when you become, you aim for something, and then you walk
Amen.
towards it. Like,
Many of us are still trying to find meaning in our lives. Many of us
mm,
are still trying to find the purpose of our lives.
hmm
Meaning
hmm
and purpose. You have found yours. In fact, there are some chiefs still sitting there.
I'm still finding it though. I know I found it, but I'm still on
You're
the journey
still on the
because
journey, but you found that
yeah,
journey,
yeah,
meaningful journey to get there. But there are some
yeah,
chiefs still sitting who have no idea. They're just there.
hmm
And you would think
hmm
with age and leadership they will find it, but absolutely not. So I must commend
mm,
you that you're on the right path. I
yeah,
have
I'm
big
on board.
dreams. I have, I can see you in places of bigger impact.
Yeah, really, really, really on board. And again, the truth is, for every steps that I've taken, they lead to something, and I don't know what that would be. um you know um and I would say, like, when I went for my interview at the US consulate for that
Mhm,
program, for that fellowship, they were, as of then, they used to just select 20, Nigerians, and
mhm,
who were based in Lagos. And out of like over 2,000, I mean, like, I was one of the 20 that was selected for that program. And we got like a $5,000 grant to create a project for low income private school teachers in
mhm.
Lagos. And I was also running my NGO on the side as well. As of then, like, I didn't even talk about like the whole idea of even starting an NGO and how I started and all of those things. I mean, that's like even entirely another story on its own.
Yeah.
But those journey, in 2018, I was like, I think now is the high time for me to, like, um get a scholar, like, do my master's degree.
Mhm.
Even though I had a plan in 2015, like 2015 was the first time I had a plan of doing the
Yeah.
master's. I wanted to do it in Nigeria initially, but that year when I applied, I was even one of the best. I had the best performance in the qualifying exam,
Mhm,
and they were like, but that year they weren't accepting people who were fresh graduates in my uni.
mhm,
So, and honestly, I'm grateful that they didn't accept me, to be
mhm,
honest. They were like, because you're fresh graduates, you don't have your NYC discharge certificate, which is one of the
mhm,
criteria, and I don't have it yet.
mhm.
I was still even serving,
Yes.
so I wasn't done. So I couldn't do my masters as I finished immediately, and I'm grateful because even during that moment, I was doing a course that I didn't like. It wasn't a course I would have done now, that I later did.
Yes.
So it was a course that I was just like, okay, what I did in my undergrad, let me just do something else. Let me just extend. Let me just do a master's. And I was
So
really
what
grateful
course
for
are
that.
you doing now?
I'm done already,
Oh,
except if I want to do a
what?
PhD.
Okay, hold on. Before we get to the PhD, what did you do your master's in?
I'm not doing a PhD yet, except if I want to.
I know you do it. What did you do your master's in?
I did my master's in African international
African
development. So
international development
yeah,
and
and international
international
development.
development, which
Yeah,
kind of fits right into what you already
yeah,
started since you were 7 years old
exactly.
or so.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, again, I was still I was grateful that that didn't happen.
Hmm.
Sometimes when things like that don't happen,
Yeah.
we say, oh, they
You
didn't,
found
they were
you
this.
found the
I said,
blessing in it. Yeah.
yeah, so and I'm very grateful because that allowed me to even go out. I'm like, let me just even go all out again. And during those moments, I was staying in another like outreach community that I was living in. And I would whenever and I was working in the factory.
Hmm.
So like when I was going to the factory, I would just engage, children within my
Hmm.
community. Hello, how are you today? How was
Hmm.
school? What did you do? What did you learn? What's happening? And right there, I knew there was a problem,
Hmm.
there was a challenge, and and it reminded me of my younger self. That because I had, sorry, I need to like go out
Oh,
because
they closed it.
once no, once you're not working,
Yes.
like the light actually goes off. Once you're so it's back.
Oh, you're in the library.
Like I'm in the office,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm taking the call in the
Oh,
booth.
okay.
So once you're working, once you're standing still and nobody's moving, the lights goes off. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
because nobody has been moving,
Yes.
the lights went
Oh,
off.
okay. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, so yeah, so yeah, so I was engaging them, and I'm like, and I will even see some kids be like, uncle, can you give me some money? I'm
Mm,
struggling, I'm doing this. And it reminded me of my younger self, and that's what led me to like, and they were struggling with like they didn't even know what to do in the future.
mm,
They even have it like this is the career. So we said, oh, let's do a career talk.
mm,
So the career talk, led to the NGO. So I came up with a plan,
mm,
organizational plan. I did everything, and I decided to start this project. I started with myself, my cousin, and a friend.
mm,
Went to the school. I submitted letters, and even if I didn't have money, I could recall saving. There were people then they would give me like they would just give me some money. When they come to visit our place and be like, "Oh, Ahmed, keep this change," and then those money I would save them. So I could record and I had about 3,000 naira, and that was why I used to run the first program. I paid a photographer. I was able to leverage my network to get a projector for free. I was able to like use all of those my experiences actually mobilizing.
So,
I was able to like
about how many students were you able to impact with this career? Um,
no. So in the beginning, when we did the first one, we reached out to about 150 students.
150
But
students. Okay.
yeah, at the beginning, and the career talk develops into bigger things because even after the career talk, it wasn't even enough. Like
Mm.
the 2 hours program wasn't enough. Children were like, "Ah, they really
There
want to have
was a
conversations."
yearning, a
Yeah,
hunger.
there was something. So we kept having these talks in different schools, talking about entrepreneurship, leadership,
Mm,
and sharing our own story and our journey. And we noticed that there was a need for students to start creating things. There was a need for them to build key 21st century skills.
mm,
And that was when I started Skill to Rural Boot Camp,
mhm,
where young people in rural communities will come together to co-create solutions to the problem that they face within their communities. So they're able to identify the problems that they face within their communities and co-create solutions to them. So we introduced them to a concept called design thinking. So design thinking is a creative approach
yes.
towards solving a problem. And I could recall when I was trying to like, oh, that's too complex. I'm like, no, it's not complex. They will learn. We introduce them to the most basics. What is the basics of design thinking? How do you get inspired to change,
Mhm,
to create things? And so then we come together and they get engrossed by creating. Like you would force them to go home
mm.
when we run the boot camp. Like they would literally be like engrossed. And what if you have an education where actually children can come together to actually create and create a solution to the problem that they face within their communities? So
Mm.
yeah, so that was the whole journey. And we are now 6 years down the line. We just did our 6 years anniversary, and we've reached out to like about 6,500
Wow.
students already. We've grown to have over 100 volunteers. We've been in more than 5 to 6 states in Nigeria now.
Mm,
We've developed a digital curriculum for our work.
mm.
We've just come up with a career guidance helpline. Like it has grown beyond what started as a project. And I would say that it was that work that was like, okay, now I've had these grassroots experiences and work. I need to build a research knowledge. I need to build, consolidate this thing that I'm doing. I also need like to build more network for the work that I'm doing. I need to access more resources, and that was why I applied for my master's program, right? And I because again you need some sort of like credibility as well for the work that you're doing. And yeah, I applied for like several scholarships, to be
Mm.
honest. Like uh in 2018 when I started the application, in 2019 all the scholarship I applied to, they came back with rejection. I got 10 rejections
Oh,
from all the
wow.
scholarship program. Yeah. So in 2019 August, that was when I got my first acceptance
All you
for
needed there was
the
one.
why. Yeah, but I didn't take it. I rejected it.
Why?
Uh yeah, because as of then I got a job as a regional manager
Okay.
and a fellow in residence with Peace First. It was a global international organization,
Okay.
and I was the regional manager for Sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
And I was like, should I pick a scholarship or a job? And I said to myself that experience you cannot like experience you cannot always take away experience.
Yes.
Experience, once you have it, is always there.
Yes.
A scholarship you can always get it.
Yes.
So I'm like, the experience, I would, once I have this experience, it will even give me more chance
Mm-hmm.
to get a better, bigger scholarship than the one that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one that came in had my tuition fee covered, and I was getting £11,000 a year for my living
Mm-hmm.
expenses, which was a good deal
Mm-hmm.
at the University of Sussex Institute of Development Studies. It was a good deal. It was like a good scholarship, a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Who gets such offer? Who turns down a scholarship?
Yes.
But I'm sorry, I've gotten a job, and I want to do that job. And that allowed me to build my earning
Mm-hmm.
capacity, allowed me to like also like ground myself, because I was doing NGO work, and it was suffering, it was a lot.
Yes.
There were time I was depressed, I could not provide for my family. There was a lot,
Yes.
a lot that happened during the whole NGO phase thing.
Yes.
Like, so I needed to like have a job that could pay me. And but the truth is, the job you're doing when you're not getting paid will pay you later.
That is true.
Like
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing all of those volunteering, and I was volunteering with different organizations as well, even while working on my
Mm-hmm.
NGO. And I did that job, and the next year I applied for two scholarships again. It was Chevening scholarship at the Mastercard Foundation, and I got it too.
Oh, wow.
All I needed was them for them to invite me to an interview. Once I got into the interview, I knew they were in trouble. uh,
Okay.
yeah, so the moment I was invited for the two interview, I knew like, this is it. Now
Okay.
they have to hear the
So,
story.
so
you
you
know
completed your
so
master's with the help of which one of those?
so I turned down Chevening, and I picked the Mastercard Foundation scholarship
Okay.
at the University of Edinburgh, to do Africa and international development. And it was like, I got like three scholarship in 11 months, and the three scholarships were like for three different courses.
Wow. But you done with your master's. You're
Yeah,
still
yeah. I
not
mean,
in England.
I did the Mastercard Foundation scholarship at University of Edinburgh in 2020. In 20, I graduated in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I stayed back. I got a job, like 2 months, 2 weeks rather, after submitting my dissertation. I got a job with Refugee Education UK. And it was like I finished my masters, I just transitioned into a job.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, I've been working with young refugees and asylum seekers
Mm-hmm.
in West London, and they were like refugees from like different parts of the world.
And
And
that is a different experience as well.
exactly, yeah, I
It's a
mean, so much to learn,
yeah.
really, really humbling experience. To even, yes, circumstances they were even difficult than mine.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I can't I can't fathom the journey that people have been
Yes.
through. And for me, it's the job gave me so much humility and privilege to listen to stories, and to also work in a place like London.
Mm-hmm.
I get to work in like one of the most prestigious cities in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and one of like the cities that is most visited and mostly frequent as well. And one of the things that the location taught me was that location then now puts me in a position of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I was here, I'm able to probably raise money more for my NGO. if I want to apply for visas to countries,
Mm-hmm.
it became easy. In Nigeria, then I used to go through hell. I cry whenever I get an opportunity and I have to apply to visas, and
Yes.
they probably reject me or something. It was hell, hell of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, location put me in a location, a great job. All of those things count.
Mm-hmm.
When sometimes I stand. In fact, now I say like I'm so privileged. I'm always grateful for the privilege that location afford me,
Mm-hmm. But you
and the
worked
ability to
very
like,
hard to get here. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
anybody who is watching us, listening to Ahmed's story, it's not a journey of just education in Nigeria and coming to do a master's. It's a lot of hard work that you put
Mm-hmm.
in, service to community, and
Mm-hmm.
self-sacrifice. In fact, selfless giving, which within our context often doesn't happen because many of us get into the mindset of trying to exist, so we
Mm-hmm.
become very selfless. But yours was selfless giving to community, which is the foundation of the man who is talking to us right now. But you know what? June 18th is coming. We have to say a very happy Father's Day to your father if he's still alive.
Yeah, he is. He is. He
And,
is. He
and
is.
all these single fathers who have been able to be there for their children and
Mm,
encourage them to become wonderful citizens of humanity such as yourself. I really do
mm.
commend men such as that. So we are in the UK, we're still in the UK, we're working in the UK. My next question to you is that where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh, I like that question because
I know you're a planner.
I no, well,
You've
in a
already
different,
set your goals.
I'm going to answer it in a different light
Okay.
because people ask me, if probably was a former interview, I'll give you an answer. But because this is a podcast, I'm not going to give you because once people ask me in a informal setting, I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I've learned is I don't know where I would be, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, where I would be or where I would go. But one thing I'm sure is that I know I'll be present,
Mm-hmm.
and I know my presence will lead me to my future. I don't know what that future looks like. I don't know what's it's been painted, but once it's not that I don't make plans. I don't make plans for the future, but I don't lose the present
Mm-hmm.
by focusing too much on the future. I think sometimes when we focus more on the future, we lose both the present and the future because the people who will get us to the future are in the present. So why not work with the present? Who is going to write my recommendation letter? Who am I going to build relationship with? I'll say that, oh, I've seen this job there, go apply. Who, I've seen this funding there, go do it. I've seen this one there. They are all in the present. And there's a need for me to enjoy that moment, enjoy that present, and build those key relationships, meet people, build that network, enjoy what this opportunity that have been given to me affords me. And I don't know where it will take me to. Obviously, I have bigger dreams. I want to create, an innovation center for young children in rural communities where they can co-create solutions.
Mm-hmm.
These are like my big plans, right? I want to create the Y combinators for children in rural communities to, create solutions. I know we can fund those solutions and we can bring the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Mastercard to
Mm-hmm.
like fund innovation created by children in rural communities. These are like bigger dreams that I've gotten. I want to be a CEO of a top world, philanthropy companies like in the world, like, and being able to like, be at the center of controlling resources and using my own lived experiences and my experiences of like, how change should be
Yes.
to, ensure that people can create real change, in communities. Like, I want to be like advisor to like, the top donor organization and all. Like, these are like bigger dreams that I have on the side. They are there. It's not that they are not happening, but again, I'm focusing on this moment. I'm savoring what this moment gives me. I'm enjoying, the fact that I had to build key relationships and how those people will take
Mm-hmm.
me to where I'm going to. Every step I've been to, every position I've been to, they were like people who are in the presence who were like, I'm ready to die for this guy. I'm ready to write recommendation for this guy. I'm always building allies along the line. I'm always building community along the line. We are community across time. And the truth is that, in the next 15 years, the people you're building a relationship with now, they'll be in a position of power. They'll be in a very key position. And because you've built a solid relationship, you also get an opportunity. So again, for me, when people ask me the 5 year question, it's always difficult to answer. Even though if I were to be in a formal interview, I'll give them a response. Bet me, I'll say something. But
No,
because it's a podcast,
I love this answer because it's practical, it's pragmatic, and it's also philosophical, and it is
mm,
a great answer. And actually, you have taught me something that I have not looked at, like how you said it. You build
mm,
relationships right now. You savor the moment right now. And I have personally been always projected forward, 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 because I always need to plan.
mm.
But it is very key. What you said is really, really practical and pragmatic. And thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's-
I mean, the sacrifice for the future I made in the present,
That is right. Hey,
and and
an old head on young shoulders. No, no, I am really I'm really
yeah,
loving it. I'm really loving it. So it.
yeah, and our present
Mhm,
then will later become our
mhm.
past, and then our past will become lessons for the future.
Amen to
Uh,
that.
yeah, because again, we don't go through things for you don't go through a path for going
Mhm,
sake. You go through things because because there's a lessons to be learned.
mhm,
There's something to pick from
mhm.
there. There's something to learn from there, and then that's what we apply,
Yes.
to the present, and then we also apply to the future as well. So if somebody wants to like, oh, I want to be in that place, walk backward,
Yeah. You.
walk backward and walk your journey through, right, in the present, and then you get there.
Yeah. Before we come to the end of this beautiful conversation with you, there's a key question that has been bothering me a lot,
Mm,
which
mm,
is I've alluded to it. But in your view, how do we break this mindset of me, to become
mm,
selfless, to give to community so community
mm,
can in return give back to us?
mm, mm. That's an interesting question. Thanks for asking. I mm, I think that it's by one person actually building a given mindset. I think it starts with one person. I think if you have people around us who are actually giving,
Mhm,
it then encourages us to give. Most of the time we used to think courage is internal, but courage is external. It's what we get from other
mhm,
people. People would develop a courage of giving when they see that people around them, their family, are also like giving. My dad was a giver.
mhm,
We when he was living even in the slum, everybody would come to his house to live.
mhm,
He would, people that he doesn't know, they will come sleep, have dinner in our
mhm,
house. Um, you know, uh, you know, I have gotten several uncles, who are not even my
mhm,
bloodline. And my dad would be like, come over,
mhm,
stay over. And he was a giver,
mhm,
and he was a selfless giver. And again, there are many people like that that I can look up to even within my own family
mhm,
circle who were givers. And I think when you see that happen, it then encourages you to do the same.
mhm,
Even though you don't know, like indirectly, I didn't even know, like it's right now that I'm answering that question. Like I didn't even know
mhm,
that I could connect, with that. But again, it's when we see, it's just like when you see somebody, somebody, maybe somebody object falls on the ground and somebody pick it up and then they give it to somebody, and you see that you're able to do the same for another person as
mhm,
well. There's a tendency. So I think we need to start with our culture. What is the culture we are building?
mhm,
And when we encourages the culture to give,
mhm,
we then, we allow other people to also pay it forward.
mhm.
It's not even about giving back.
Yeah.
It's not a matching process. It's not a transaction.
Mhm.
It's a courage to like pay it forward,
Yes.
to other people.
Mhm,
So I think the problem is the culture.
mhm.
The culture isn't there. So we need to fix the culture.
Okay.
We need to fix the culture. We need to encourage giving even within our family, even within within the smaller system and circle that we've gotten.
Mhm,
How do brothers and sisters give to each other? How do brothers and brothers give to each
mhm.
other? how the sisters and sisters give to each other, how do they even look out for each other within the family context. I think these are the things that needs to be fixed, because sometimes some of the problems that we face in the world today is from the family itself, where you like, oh, we don't even have, so let's hoard every single thing,
Yes.
and a child grows up to actually learn to
Or
hoard things to themselves. But even in the little that you have, you're able to share. That's what giving means. And the idea that you have to have everything to give is something that I kind of like, is it's I contend with that, because I was telling my friend one day, I said, if you've gotten a full bowl of rice that would be enough for you as an individual, if there's somebody who is actually hungry and you share the full bowl of rice that is enough for one person and you share it into two, would you die? He said no. I said that's what giving means. It's by sharing a bowl of rice to another person.
Mohammed. I said Mohammed. No, that's your brother. Ahmed. We will. On that note, we will stop here. But you'll have to come onto the show again. The reason being is that we have not talked about your books, and time is not on
Yeah,
our side.
yeah.
Well,
I know. That's another
and
journey.
that
That's entirely
yes,
another journey
that
and
is
another experience on
entirely
its own.
another journey. But I want to put it there that you have written. At least I have two books here. 10 lessons life taught me.
Now
Three
three.
books.
Now there are three
Ah,
now. Now three.
so the 10 lessons life taught me.
Yeah.
Career wisdom, ideas to kickstart your career, and
The Africa I Dream to See,
the
which was
Africa
my
I
first
dream to see.
dream
And
to
all of
see.
this can be found on Amazon. Yes,
Yeah.
I haven't had the opportunity to read it as yet, but I'm highly interested in reading it. I will get my copies, and we will actually have another 1 hour plus
Mm,
session of delving
mm,
into this, because I would really love for you to break it down so that the young folks that watch this show in on the continent can take
mhm.
from you, some
Yeah.
practical ideas and what to do based on your life experience.
Extremely humbled. It's great to be here.
Before we round up, what
Mm.
advice do you have for the young folks in Africa and young folks around the world in general?
Hmm. I think I struggle with this question as well. I when they say
How would
Ahmed
you
give,
have advised your young self with this your
I,
old self?
this is a very difficult question, but um, yeah. So if I would advise my young self, I think I won't change anything. I think one thing I would say is that focus on your process, focus on your journey. Don't try to like jump off things. I think the process is important. The process teaches us a lot. And when you walk through the process, when you walk that journey, you'll be proud that I went through that process and I went through that journey. And when you find yourself, in a very difficult situation where you feel like, oh, I should have been in this position, I should have been in this place, don't be scared to walk backwards. Sometimes to move forward, you have to move backward. Sometimes you have to, pick your battle again. Sometimes you have to like say, yeah, I know that I've not gotten to the position that I want, but I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to pick my battles again. I'm ready to walk my journey through to the
Yeah.
top. I think that's one key advice I would give, and and I'm seeing it from my own experience. When I came to the UK, I was a regional manager. I'm like, well, I'm looking for like this. I'm like, I need to pick my battle. I'm in a new
Yeah.
environment. I can't expect them to like say that they will give me this on the platter of gold. I need to walk my journey way back to the top. And I think whenever we find ourselves in such situation, don't be scared to admit and move backward and build yourself back to the
Wow,
top.
beautiful, beautiful. That was so great. It was great having you on the Nana Yayabwa show. And we will
Yeah.
have you again on the show for part
All right.
two, talking
Yeah.
about your books, your life as an author. This,
Yeah.
yes. So, lady,
On board. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
you're very welcome. So, guys, we've come to the end of another session of the Nana Yayabwa show, and we've been with Ahmed Kayode Alabi. And we will see you in the next session.
Thank you.